do something reckless. Um, let's see. Can I? Here we go. Just switching some stuff around. Where is? There we go. Um, can everybody hear me okay? I'm not sure the way this room is. I'm always a little wary of. Okay, cool. Everybody can hear me. Cool. So okay, I'm in my instead of starting with slides, I'm just going straight into the demo, which is usually with tech stuff is like the worst possible thing to do, but I'm just going to do it. As you can see, I am in Discord right now. That's my messaging app of choice. I'm actually in, I've got a private channel that's just me talking to myself. It's called Brain 2. You can see this morning I have a bot that's like, here's some stuff you need to do today. That's super nice. I'm going to type in a message to it that says something like, build, let me think. I want to build something. I want to build a video game that is hide and seek inside paintings in a museum. So like sort of a gentler first person shooter. Okay, so I just, sent this message to myself and I'm gonna wait a second, hopefully not too long. It should give me a little something, something, something. I'm hoping. This is where the live demo gets a little hairy. Um, this thing is called Brain 2. It's actually it's a little project. Okay, here we go. Classifying, cool. It's doing something now. Okay, great. Filed as projects, hide and seek inside paintings video game, reply fix if this is wrong, and there's some other categories. And if I go to, now let me try and this is one of the things I hate about screen sharing in Zoom is that you have to like really explicitly, let's see, stop sharing this. And then I want to go to something else. Um, where is it? I want my Obsidian. Okay, now I'm sharing my Obsidian screen. And let's see, in my inbox box log. Yep, here we go. So that message that I just sent has filed this away. And if we go to projects, there's probably, let's see, somewhere in here, hide and seek. There we go. So there's my it's sort of taken that message that I did, filed it away. And let's see, now I'm gonna stop sharing this again. And I'm gonna um, go back to Discord. And it is now also a few seconds later, it said work plan generated for hide and seek inside paintings in video game. And so, stop sharing this again. We're kind of done with that. And I'm going to
You
go.
just share your whole thing.
I don't think Zoom has never let me do that. Can you guys do that? Are you able to share
See
everything?
what happens when you click on share.
Here we are in share.
Yeah,
All right,
should be
technically.
sharing your desktop because these are sharing individual.
Okay, now you guys can see all my crap. Okay.
Just easier.
So back in my Obsidian in work plans, did a hide and seek, and now there's this whole project summary, like basically a draft or a sketch of like how to build this thing out that I'm thinking about. Okay, now that I'm done with that, I can actually go into the presentation. That was just sort of like the demo part. This thing works, the stuff is going. Yay, skunk works. My presentation is called Risky Business because I did some things that were even riskier than doing a live demo in Zoom of tech. So I built this thing called Second Brain, and it's not something I came up with myself. There's a guy on Substack who I subscribe to who's doing a lot of AI stuff. His name is Nate Jones, and he proposed this thing, this tool. And what it does is it captures all your loose ideas and files them away. Another function is if something gets misfiled, you can redo it. It'll send a daily digest, first thing in the morning of like, what's the top 3 things for today? And then at the end of the week, it also sends me a message. And all of this is happening in my Discord. Now, what Nate Jones spec'd out was for the interface, use Slack, for the automation, use Zapier, for the database, use Notion, for the LLM, use ChatGPT. And you could do all this stuff freely, but I was like, wait a minute, that's not the stack I want to use. First of all, I don't like Slack that much. I prefer Discord. Um, then I was like, well, can I do the rest of this in open source? So N8N, that's my automation. It's running locally on my laptop, even as we speak. Um, I'm using Obsidian for my database. Yes, I've become completely addicted to Obsidian. I'm transferring all of my working notes to it as we speak, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm using Olama, which again is like all this stuff is running locally and it's all open source software. David, thank you very much. Um, I've got a little asterisk next to Discord just because, yes, it's not open source. That'll come later.
Zulip. We're trying to get you on Zulip.
I want to get on Zulip. Okay, so what I did is Nate Jones had, he sort of proposed, this thing that will close loops. You have an idea, you jot it down on a piece of paper and you promptly forget it and it is never seen again. So this tool is to help sort of surface and close those loops. And he actually had a, guide that, here's how you build it. Except that the guide was for all Slack, Zapier, Notion, and ChatGPT. And I'm like, no, no, no. How do I translate all this stuff? So Claude Code, can you translate that build guide to match my stack and then build it for me? And this is when I started playing with Claude Code seriously about a month and a half, 2 months ago. So cumulatively over about a month or 6 weeks, I spent probably 3 or 4 days as a middleman. I'm sort of, Claude is telling me, well, go do this, go do that, copy and paste this JavaScript into here, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a typical vibe coding problem where you just get into these loops where you fix one thing and it breaks something else. And I was getting increasingly violently angry, as I'm prone to do. So at a certain point, this is the risky business part of this. I'm like, okay, deleted this workflow, unpublished this other workflow. Claude, can I just give you permission to go straight in there and fix, this particular workflow that was an N8N? And of course, Claude says, yes, I can create and update workflows directly via the N8N API, etc. And here it go, off it goes, in about 30 minutes, the entire thing, there's actually 4 workflows that go into that second brain project. All 4 of them were done in 30 minutes, including me testing them and confirming that they actually worked. So that was a really nice I was sitting at a bar when I was doing this with a glass of wine, so I was really happy. And now by testing and confirming, I have in the subsequent time, I've discovered little bits and pieces that still need tweaking, but it was functional. There was, electricity was flowing from head to toe of this Frankenstein monster, and I was happy. So like I said, this tool is sort of designed to close these loops. The one sort of thing that is on my brain that I haven't figured out yet, it's just sort of a thought that occurs to me is like, wait a minute, as an artist, a lot of what I do is open-ended and poetic, and they aren't necessarily loops that need to be closed for business reasons as soon as possible. What does this tool mean for me as an artist when I'm putting in really weird poetic stuff? And I don't know the answer to that. I just throw it out there for all of your consideration. Now, I'm on my glass of wine. Half an hour later, the thing is done, and I'm thinking to myself, in the future, I will want to build additional local workflows in N8N and connect them to Olama. How can I capture what I've learned here so I'm Claude isn't rebuilding this from scratch every time I want to do something? And I asked Claude this question, and the answer it gave me was a markdown file with a Olama and N8N local workflow playbook. And so if I load this in before I start a project and, as sort of a precursor prompt, this should speed things up. This is sort of a suspicion I have, is that by letting Claude work directly with N8N and not using me as a middleman, it just solved stuff a lot faster. And I recognize there's a lot of security risk to that. But the reality was it got this thing done so much faster when I did that. And I'm still weighing like how do I build this into my practice? And I'm not quite sure yet. But it seems like it's better able to find bugs and refactor for edge cases if it's just dealing with the tool directly. So with those lessons learned, I'm still sitting in the bar, half an hour later, gloating in triumph, and I'm thinking, so I can connect to Olama through Discord, and that means, for the second brain, I need to have Discord open, but I usually have an Olama window open at the same time. Do I really need them both? Now I can just maybe just use Discord to like do my basic Olama queries. And a couple of hours later, and it took a couple of hours because I added some extra features, but I got this here. I've got a second channel called Olama Chat. That's again, it's a private text channel in Discord. I send it stuff and it files those things. It'll give me responses back directly in Discord, but it's also filing them away in my Obsidian, so I can go back at any time and if I get some really useful information, I can use that as seed stuff for a project in, say, Claude Code, for example. So I'm sort of I'm saving stuff that could be used as training material later.
So where is Obama? I mean,
On my laptop. It's all local. The only thing that's not local to this is Discord.
so what's the Mac Mini you mentioned in the notes?
Mac Mini in the
The
notes.
Mac side
Uh,
says I need to set it up on Mac Mini.
oh, that was just a query that I put in. I was curious,
So you're
like,
not running a Mac Mini somewhere else with Obama.
but the question I posed to Olama, like, how would I set up a Mac Mini so this stuff isn't running on my laptop? So this is just an example of it giving a response to that question. It wasn't me actually trying to implement that.
Oh,
It has not been implemented. So yeah, I mean, I'm sort of mulling over in the back of my mind. I've got a spare Mac Mini at home. If I plug it in and load all this stuff up, then see, the thing about this that's great is I'm running almost everything locally until I close the lid on my laptop. And so if I have an idea that I want to send to Discord, um, if my laptop isn't actually up and running, like if I do it through my phone, it won't make it. But part of me thinks like I don't need to be on my phone that much anyway. So I'm cool with it just running when my laptop is open because that means I'm here and I'm present and I'm dealing with it. I'm sure there's plenty of simple fixes without even setting up a Mac Mini that's running 24/7. But for now, I'm happy with what I've got. So I'm at the bar. I've spent half an hour at the bar getting second brain running. Then I spent another couple of hours getting my sort of Olama private chat in Discord running.
glasses of wine at this point.
Oh, plenty. I
Vino
had
coding.
vino coding. That's it. I had plenty of glasses of wine. So then, fortunately, the bar is actually directly beneath my apartment. I live on the second floor, and Andy's Pizza is directly beneath my bedroom. So I can stumble upstairs without too much of a problem. Okay, so still at the bar, got my other channel going so I can talk to Olama through Discord. And then I thought, I want to extend Second Brain. There's something that wasn't in the spec that Nate Jones had that I thought would be really useful, which is, as I showed you guys in the demo, when I create a project, it would be nice if I create a note about a project, it'd be nice if it could just spin up a draft of what's the plan to execute that project. It'll probably be wrong, and that's fine. It'll just give me a document that I can like bounce ideas off of. So yeah, here we go. You guys saw it in action. Work plan generated for blah, 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 whatever I've plugged in that has been filed as a project. And again, this goes into another subdirectory within my Obsidian vault, and I'm super happy about that. Now, Claude Code helped me get a lot of this stuff up and running. But Claude Code is not open source. And I can tell you guys, after 2 months of using Opus 4.6, it's getting expensive. So I started looking for alternatives is there an open source alternative for Claude Code? and I found this thing called Open Interpreter, but I couldn't get it to install properly on my machine. So I went to Claude Code and said, Claude Code, can you install Open Interpreter for me? And it did it. It worked perfect. So I'm running Open Interpreter now. It's fussy. It's definitely not ready for prime time. It's not as good as Claude Code, just at an interface level. The model that I'm using for Open Interpreter is Quen. It's like a Quen Coder 32 billion parameter model. And I'm running, again, that's running locally through Olama. So Open Interpreter is then, it's basically just, I think, a CLI that runs some Python that then invokes Olama. Again, this is all running locally. I was able to make one useful thing with Open Interpreter. That's all I've had time for, which was the presentation I did at the OSCON conference on Monday.
Which was great, by the way.
Why, thank you.
Mhm.
I instead of doing Google Slides or PowerPoint, I wanted something that was had a little bit of life to it, and I also wanted to add a countdown timer on it. So this is pretty simple JavaScript, HTML, CSS, but the JavaScript part is not, that's beyond my capability. And but I built this thing in Open Interpreter and it ran. It seemed to work fairly
It
well.
worked great on the
Um,
day, yeah.
I don't know, like, anyway, so that's really been my adventures for the last month and a half, maybe 2 months, using Claude Code, but also thinking, how do I build this stuff so I can run it locally? That means it's sort of sandboxed to my machine, so it's a little bit safer, I would hope. Um, and I'm learning sort of like best practices for how do I make sure that Claude Code isn't, damaging other parts of my machine. My to-do list going forward is, as David mentioned, I would really like to migrate from Discord to Zulip, but I haven't had a chance to play with it. I haven't had time to install it locally on my machine. So that's, like summer project or, whenever I get a little bit of a break. Um, Another thing that's sort of a practice that I think I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to incorporate this um, in a way that I don't have to remember it too much is save points. So when Claude Code or Open Interpreter is writing to files on my machine, I want to make sure that it's not overwriting something important or, basically be able to roll back. So that means every time I start a project, make sure that, I'm pointing the agent to a specific directory, and the first thing it does is create a repo so that every change it makes gets, updated in the repo and I can roll back. And then, the bigger picture is I'd like to get out of GitHub entirely and go to GitLab because that's also open source. I think I can run it locally on my laptop. I don't see why I couldn't, but I haven't tried it yet. Um, and this was something that I sort of mentioned to Clark, like, like I sort of see this situation where we need a skunk works at the university to like sandbox things, try things out. It would be nice for me to be able to try things out in a safe way that's not on my laptop, so that it's maybe more collaborative. Um, and things like being able to just even to test out open source software. So for example, um, Adobe is getting expensive. There are plenty of open source alternatives, but before we just spring that on the population of GW, maybe we need to test those things out first and to have some sort of safe place, some server hardware and a little bit of expertise to like, okay, can we deploy this app? How hard is it to maintain the app? Does it actually meet the needs of the faculty? Things like that would be really fun and I think useful and maybe help with some cost-effective stuff going forward. So my plea to the powers that be, to the gods, is like, gosh, could we set up a GW skunk works? Maybe it already exists. I don't know. But anyway, with that, I'm gonna stop sharing. That's my story that I'm sharing with you guys, I've got nothing else to say. But I've got plenty of naughty stickers for anybody who wants some. I got them.
Awesome
Way too many.
presentation. Woo! Amazing work at the bar. Anybody have questions?
So one thing that I've done with my Obsidian is I have it linked to my GitHub.
Mhm.
So everything is getting backed up, but that would give you your rolling back because everything is within a pull requests
Right.
for ongoing changes.
Right.
And then that's how I get it to my phone too. So my Obsidian on my phone is updated to my Obsidian on my desktop through GitHub rather than through their service.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Pretty easy.
is it even a pull request or is it just a commit?
Just a commit.
Yeah, yeah. That's basically what I'm doing is
Yeah. But it's my backup. That's how I think of it. It's my backup server in case my computer dies or GW takes it away someday. Fires me, then at least it's somewhere.
yeah, Mike, I definitely am interested. Any home for a skunk works is that's where I want to be.
Let's see Mike's chat.
I sent it as a direct message to James, but I'll tell
Oh.
the group. WIP is putting together a proposal for funding for something that looks like an OSPO, but it's really a technical advisory group for AI that would be somewhat more like a national organization and then have local implementation. But what James was talking about for Skunkworks is kind of part of that idea. And I would love to get anyone's opinion on how that might be set up and how we might govern that type of organization. But James and I have kind of talked a little bit about that previously, so I want to dig further.
Yeah, when I think about a skunk works, I think about like a safe place to go rogue. And then once you figure out, having gone rogue, once you figured out how to like contain the thing, then you can release it on the world. But
Yeah, a good example of that might be like people wanting to use OpenClaw,
right.
but probably shouldn't because they're going to run it on their computer and give it all their passwords and then see what happens. Having a space where students can go and learn how to run it, learn how to set up clear boundaries so that it doesn't steal everything and buy them Porsche. Maybe they can't afford it. Either way.
Is TAI sandbox not a place for this?
No, it's looking at how agentic architectures fit within workflows. So like how are people interacting with it through their job workflow and how could it look different? So like, does it go like student has access to chatbot or does student advisor have access to chatbot? How does that change the performance of the system? Like, are they still able to get things done? And then how you can switch those around. But it has a strong human element to it. It's like, how are people using this in their workflow in different ways?
Isn't that exactly what this is though? I want to be able to measure his insanity.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can bring in small pieces, but it's not really set up to be like, bring in anything that you want. And we could try it. I mean, it's an AWS instance, so in theory you could. I mean, but that's not what we were shooting for of bringing anything or bringing.
It sounds like you want more like an enclave kind of situation where you're firewalled and gaps from other systems, and you've got some break it and reset it type permissions. So being able to do something like, okay, you get $10 worth of credits free, see if you can get it up and running. And at the end of that fixed time period, everything resets. There's no risk of accidental disclosure, lots of guardrails. It gives students an opportunity to basically play without, accidentally taking down an entire system. We had one of those at FSU that was air gapped. It was literally a server where you could go and try code, and if it crashed, it just flat reset to an image, and it was ready to go in 15 minutes again for the next person. And the coders who were not coders would often play with it and feel safe in that environment. Whereas if you take down your own personal laptop, there's no one to help you. Just as an example. But this was also early mid 2000s, so it was not as complex as today's options.
Yeah, but if I think of how many times I've broken my Windows server and had to re-image it, lost everything. It happens. If you're playing, it's in a break.
Hmm. I'm gonna stop recording, but I think it's good to keep asking questions.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, thanks.